Good afternoon. Today is June 27th, and you are listening to the live feed of the Indigified podcast, sponsored by the Great Plains Action Society, right here on KWTN 100.9 FM, Allen, Nebraska. The Big Voice Radio, official radio station of the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska. As always, all opinions shared are not a reflection of the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska, the Big Voice radio station, or the Great Plains Action Society.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are live here in Winnebago, Nebraska. We have a different setup today, and I'm loving this. I love the topic that we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about self-care, and so we busted out the chairs, and so I'm pretty excited about it. We have a special guest, Molly Pace, and do we want to do the introduction now, or do we want to do our mental health check-in? How do you want to do this?
Let's go kind of like our normal way. Let's do our mental health check-in. Okay. We'll do our icebreaker. Do you have any cliffhangers?
Oh my gosh. I don't have any cliffhangers today.
I didn't think you would, because I was like, what kind of cliff are we going to hang on? We're talking about self-care.
I feel like that's a cliffhanger in itself. Because, what we're going to be talking about, people don't normally talk about, and it needs to be normalized. So... okay, so do you have any what are the this or that questions? Or
so I skipped the this or that's this week because I was okay, I feel like a great way to start the discussion would be to ask, what does self-care look like to you? So do you want to so should we do our mental health check-in?
Yes.
And then everybody can think about it, and then we'll come back to it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Miss Trisha, how are you feeling this week?
I am feeling really good. I just put in the t-shirt order for the MMI Art Powwow, so I'm excited. Things are coming together very well, and I just am really excited. As always, I feel like for the past month, I'm just kind of stressed out. But aside from that, I am being very deliberate in my self-care routine. And so I'm trying to balance all of the stressful things with all of, the self-care, and making sure that my mental health is top-notch. That way I can, give the best version of myself. Again, working out has been the biggest thing for me. So, I feel like everything is balancing. And what about you? Monica, do you want to go next, or Molly?
So I can go next since Molly is our special guest. We'll save the best for last. Yes. So first and foremost, I'm super proud of you. Very proud of you. I know. I'm so proud of you. I can't even imagine all the work that you're doing to bring everything together. I've had a really good week. I've really enjoyed this week. I've been taking a lot of time to reflect and kind of learn about myself, learn new things about myself. I'm about to be 31 next month. Yeah, my birthday's coming. I know, I'm the baby in the room.
Little baby Leo.
I know. So I'll be 31 next month, and I don't know if it's something that everybody does, but it seems like when my birthday starts to come around, I start reflecting, and I'm like, okay, what am I doing? And everything's just felt really good. All of my ideas feel really good. The paths that I'm taking feel really good. I don't know. I'm happy. I feel really happy. I feel really content. But I'm also eager for those next chapters, those next steps, and seeing what comes of them. But I feel like I had something else to say, and then I lost it. It's
I do that all the time.
I know.
You're just excited about your birthday. You're so my birthday.
I know. I'm so excited about my birthday. What do you guys want to do? all of our our VIPs that listen to the podcast. You guys want to come? You got a special invitation. But I feel good. Mental health is good. I had a moment where I felt kind of sad at one point, but it all just went into that reflecting and looking at everything. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So last night I opened a note on my phone and I started a new thing where
I saw this.
Yeah.
Talk about
where I wrote down the things that I've done with my life or that I've done in this life. So some of them are like really big, right? Like overcoming addiction, overcoming homelessness. And then some of them are small, but those small wins should still be counted.
Yeah, of
like,
course.
Like the billboard.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had the billboard up there, like being on that, being a representative, being the face that people are seeing on these advertisements. Cause yeah, that's why my week has been so good. I'm like every time, cause that billboard's like the one on Hamilton's right by my house. So I drive past it all the time and I'm always like, that's me.
That's perfect for you to be on a billboard.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I love that.
But yeah, so that's my new thing is I'm keeping track of like my wins.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not really worried about the losses because what do they say? A minor setback for a greater comeback.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's
Absolutely.
been like my perspective and my mentality lately is what are my wins and let me focus on those.
Let's circle back to that in the show. I want to teach you this acronym called HEAL, which is in the book Hardwired for Happiness. And it's really important what you said. And I think we can talk about it with self-care.
Okay.
Right on.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Well, Miss Molly, how has your week been? How
My
are
week
you
has
feeling?
been good. It was like too good where I'm like, yo, let's check in because you're feeling so good, but that seems weird. And I had this moment where I recognized that it's summer and I'm staying up late and I'm hanging out with my kids, going at bike rides at 9 o'clock, and I'm out of my normal routine of like bedtime, wake up, workout, work, dinner, da-da.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa. But then I was like, we have permission to feel joy. Like, it is okay to be riding my bike at 9 o'clock at night with my son and enjoying the evening. And so I've just been in this, like, summer mode and giving myself permission to, like, not be in a serious, structured routine because that's what my life is calling for right now. There's a time for that routine and structure. Right now there's not, and I'm okay with that, and I'm enjoying summer.
Yes.
Yes.
I love summer.
Me too.
Yes.
Yes.
My son learned how to ride a bike last night.
Oh,
And it's
really?
like
that's cute.
the little things. I was
Yeah.
just like, just that joy and excitement and proud. And I was like, this is like the little things, like the day your child learns how to ride a bike. I was
Right.
like, okay, we can stay up late for this.
It's little but big.
Yes.
Right, for
Yes.
sure.
Okay.
So, yeah, do you want to
Yeah.
lead into?
So
Today's
my
episode?
icebreaker was or is, what does self-care look like for you?
Oh, man, self-care. Self-care to me looks like when I wake up, I don't immediately go onto the phone. I just lay there in bed and just think about being present and, just waiting to start my day, just taking a deep breath and just being thankful for all of the things that I am doing today. Not really dwelling on the failures and the losses because I feel
Right.
like, that's a huge part of self-care is, we have this negative self-talk and it's just kind of biologically in there. So mine is just being grateful and really just taking time to be present with myself before I actually start my day. And then I wake up, I get my kids ready, and then I drop them off at daycare, and then I work out right after that. Because if I don't, I will not get to it, and then it perpetuates this cycle of like I neglect my mental health, and like working out helps me, it helps the endorphins, in my body, and it helps me to just get through my day. And it motivates me. So that's my form of self-care. But also, too, so big nerd moment. I like to listen to, like, 90s music from, like, when I was growing up in my childhood.
Like Britney
It-
Spears,
yes.
NSYNC.
Yes.
Girl, don't get me started. We can have a sing-along right
and
now.
so it just brings me back to times where where I was a little girl, like I can jam out. But the funnest part, too, is... I don't even know if that was a word,
The
but
funnest.
the funnest part of that is when I'm driving my girls to daycare, we also jam out together. So
Yes.
like, it's just, I don't know, it's like a really
That's where you're feeling
circle
it.
of life type of thing. So, but other than that, like, I do like to take bubble baths. I do like to paint my nails when I know that I am dealing with a lot of stress or something that is very negative. those are some of the little things that I do. I don't, I'm like, as I'm looking down now, I'm like, I don't have them painted now. And that's something that I've been, you know, just little things like that, that really, I cherished during my childhood. I like to do today. So those are kind of the forms of self-care. I know that self-care can look very different to everyone. So, So what about you, Monica?
So self-care for me, so like in short term, right? So when I think of self-care, I think of, so I don't do bubble baths, but I do think of like running a bath, lighting a candle, grabbing whatever book I'm reading currently, and then turning on lo-fi music.
Yes, that lo-fi music.
So that's like, that's my quick answer, right? That's what like visually just comes to me in the moment of like, okay, what is self-care for me? But self-care in depth is taking time for myself, spending time alone, going through like my list of priorities for the day, and you know, managing those to where later on in the day I'm not going to feel overwhelmed because my plate is so full and I feel like I haven't accomplished anything. I feel like in these days that's like my biggest form of self-care, because I have so much going on all the time and so much to do, that it's like those moments in the morning when I first wake up where I start my list. Sometimes I write it down on paper. Sometimes I write it down on my phone. Sometimes I text it to my best friend, because I'm like, okay, I need you to check in on me and make sure that I'm getting this stuff done, because I know today my self-accountability is kind of lacking. So I have my different ways of keeping track of what I need to do and when I need to do it, what's most important, what can wait till the next day. And then, of course, physical exercise is big for me too, right? Those endorphins. But, man, I've been out of the gym for like a while and I can feel it. Like my back is tight, it's tense, and I carry like all of my stress like in my shoulder blades. So I'm like, I need a massage, and I'm like, a massage would be nice. That sounds so good. But you need to get back in the gym. You know, not for like a weight loss, because I'm not the person that's like, oh yeah, we all need to look a certain way or we all need to like lose weight. No, just for the endorphins and then the strength that I gain. Like my shoulders are leaning forward today. When I'm in the gym consistently, my shoulders are nice and like they're where they're supposed to be. They're being held there. And I'm not feeling like that little sharp pain that I'm feeling like today in my back. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of like aggravating because it's annoying, but it's also like a reminder, like, hey girl, what are you doing?
The body's
we haven't
reminder.
seen you at the gym in a while. Yeah, what's up? What's up with you?
We miss you.
Yeah.
No.
So that's like my short-term visualization of what I think when I think self-care, but also what self-care looks like for me right now in these moments.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you, Miss Mia, Miss Self-Care Queen herself, what is self-care for you?
And that's just it. Like, it was really interesting listening to the two of you come up with what it is for you right now. And that's what I've learned about myself and others, is that self-care for me is intuitive. It's a, hold up, let me take a moment, take a breath, check in, what do I need? And I will literally ask myself that, because my mind is like, well, you should do the dishes and you should do the laundry, and like, oh, you haven't worked out today, and da-da-da-da-da. And that's not really what my body, my innermost being is saying that it needs for its highest good.
Right.
And so I get really good at getting quiet and checking in with that, because usually we have some resistance to self-care, right? It's like, but I'm supposed to do the laundry, I'm supposed to get my kids here, I'm supposed to do that. So my biggest self-care right now is going outside, and I got this cute little pergola, and I just sit under there, and I literally will regulate my nervous system just by breathing. And then when I'm in this really calm, clear place, I'll just say, like, what else do you need? Like, maybe we want to take a nap. Maybe we do want to get that workout in. Maybe I want to do some astrology work, whatever it is, but I have to get clear first on what my body really needs, and not what I think I should do or is being asked of me to do, or you know, like yours is working out right now, and working out has been one of my main forms of self-care, but it's not the season for me.
Right.
There's a slowing down, a resting, just a general like taking care of my body in a quieter way. That's like, that's what I need right now. And no shame, no judgment around myself for not using exercise as a form of self-care, even though it is. It's just not what it is for me right now.
I like that.
And that's where like people have to get comfortable with like, we're going to give you a bunch of examples of self-care, but that doesn't mean you have to do all of them, and it doesn't mean that all of them are for you.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So my question is,
she has a question.
what is self-care? So what is self-care? So maybe Molly, do you want to tackle that? Like, what is self-care to you, or like, what's your perspective?
Sure. I'll do like a general self-care, because I feel like, again, we were just talking about differences. And, you know, when we're babies and we're born, we have these needs. Like, we're cold, so like we want somebody to hold us. We're hungry, so we scream and cry and somebody feeds us. There is somebody who is taking care of our needs for us. And as we evolve and grow, like, we start to have to meet our own needs. And life happens and all these other things, and we can get really off course with taking care of ourselves. Maybe we weren't shown proper care of how to care for ourselves, or maybe healthy coping skills weren't role modeled in our family. So I think part of self-care is coming to learn who you are, what you need, and also what you didn't get. A lot of times self-care requires repair and sort of healing the trauma that we carry. I literally just got to a place in my life where breathing is what I need to regulate. But when you are carrying a lot of trauma and a lot of energy, you might not be able to just go outside and breathe and feel better. And that's okay. And so for me, self-care is just really taking a look at where are you at on your healing journey and what do you need right now, and giving yourself permission and acceptance around what that is. And it's a conversation. That's why we're here today, and like we're telling people what it is that we do and getting them to think about, well, what is it that I need? What does that look like for me?
Right.
So for me, like, we can talk about the whole gamut of self-care.
Right.
I can name a million things, and I think we'll talk about them here today, but I just want permission for everyone to do what's right for them, and no judgment around where you're at or what that is.
I like that.
Yeah.
Do you have what self-care means to you, or?
So for me, I feel like self-care is just the act of caring for yourself, making yourself the priority, making your needs the priority, your wants the priority, of course, without causing like pain or damages to anyone else.
Yeah, I like that. I really do. Before we get it more into this conversation, Molly, can you do like a formal introduction and like let us know what you do and like,
Yeah. So my name is Molly Pace. I am a licensed mental health counselor and a art therapist. I have my own private. Just pat my own back. A little self-care there is acknowledging our growth, right? I have been a therapist for 13 years. I have my own private practice in Sioux City called Heart Therapy. And I also have worked with astrology pretty significantly in the last 4 years, because it's a way of, again, looking at what it is that we need. Our self-care is really based in our charts. And so if that's something people are interested in, I look at people's charts to help guide them with that. But yeah, full-time therapist,
That's
mother,
awesome.
wife, friend, all the things.
One of my closest friends.
Love you.
Yes, love you too.
So what are different forms of self-care? So like I think I named a couple, but like what are different forms of self-care?
Yeah. So I like to look at first this, like, we can talk about the things that we do for self-care. We'll just start with naming them, but I want to get deeper into this conversation about why we need to self-care. Oh yeah, this mic, you guys. Telling you.
Technical difficulties. Mo the
But
builder.
the chairs are nice though.
I love the chairs. So it's our first day, so we're working out the kinks, but
I love the chairs. So actually what I do at usually the end of therapy session is sort of wrap up by saying, well, what are you going to do this week? Or what are you going to accomplish before I see you again? And the majority of the time, it's a self-care aspect. So it could look like things like, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to put my phone down before bed and read. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to take a bath. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to set a boundary with somebody and say, no, I can't watch your kids.
That's a big one.
Right?
Boundaries.
I would love to go out, but no, I can't. I really need to rest. Again, Monica did a really good job of saying, like, self-care is choosing yourself as a priority. And I think we're really good at caring for other people. But again, it's that checking in with, what do I need? And being able to choose that and do that. So it can look like so many different things. Self-care can also be therapy, talking to a friend, crying. I straight up just love crying as a coping skill.
Yeah.
Because there are some times that my body just needs to release the emotions that it's holding. And so crying, laying in bed, writing a letter.
Ooh, I think, that's a big one. I feel like, especially with like indigenous communities, we obviously have been through so much trauma, like whether it's historical, intergenerational, if it's been something personally that we've been through, we hold a lot of trauma. So I guess my question is, do you like help people that have been through very traumatic events, and like what is like, how did they, you know, like I guess like you get what I'm trying to say.
You have a great
right?
question, and it's actually what I wanted to talk about today, because you know, you hear that word coping skill, like use your coping skills. What's your coping skill? And it's I get annoyed with that word because it's so cliche. It's assuming that people can use a coping skill like going for a walk or deep breathing, and they're going to be okay. Well, what happens when you have come from a traumatic experience and that does not help you? It makes somebody feel like there's something wrong with them, or like they're forever going to be this way. And so we need to go deeper. And that's what I want to talk about today, is the true essence of what a coping skill is. Okay. So when you feel an emotion, that's energy in motion. Like if I hit you right now, first of all, it's going to hurt because, that's right. You see these guys, Trish? Okay.
Like, no, please stop.
Yeah, and then it's that. And then it's that. It's like, you know what, Molly? Like, you're my friend. Like, ow, how could you hurt me? So you're dealing with a lot of emotions, energy in motion. Eventually, your arm will stop hurting because the energy from the hit will be gone. But you might still be mad at me, and you're forever going to be mad at me. You have not let go of the energy from that experience.
Ooh.
Okay? So a lot of times we're holding energy. We're holding old emotions in our body from abuse, neglect, trauma, whatever. It's in our bodies. We're not maybe consciously experiencing it, but it's in there. So if I hit you, but you've carried a lot of abuse or trauma around that, it's going to bring up so many emotions in your body.
Right.
So a coping skill is, how can I cope with the emotions that are bringing up in me right now? Right? Maybe your arm doesn't hurt anymore, but you're still thinking about how mad you are at me for what I did. So now you need to cope with that emotion, cope with that energy that's in your body. And energy moves, emotions move, it's energy in motion. So this is what a coping skill is. It's what's something that I can do that's going to move the energy of what I'm feeling. So if I'm anxious, if I'm stressed, if I'm mad, if I'm sad, if I'm feeling an emotion and I want to kind of return to baseline or return to normal, what can I do to move through that? And so to me, that's what a coping skill is. And in essence, self-care, it's what do I need to do to get this energy to move? And for you, you really notice like it's movement. Like if I work out, I'm moving the energy in my body and I feel better. I'm no longer stressed or I'm no longer mad.
Yeah. I like that.
Right?
Like Bob.
I love coping skills.
Yeah.
Coping skills are bomb.com.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, okay, but I can like feel this energy rumbling in my body and I'm like, I just need to sit. And if I sit for 10 to 15 minutes, what it does is my nervous system is regulating. It's bringing down that stress of what I'm feeling. And when I return to baseline, I'm good.
Right.
So it's first about like an awareness about what you're feeling and knowing that emotions are something that comes up. It's an energy. And what skill or tool do you want to reach for to help you work with that?
I love that. And I just want to normalize that emotions are okay. You know, that like...
We're human.
Yes, we are human. They come and they go.
Yes.
But yeah, learning how to utilize different coping skills or just, you know, what is going to help you move through that and Yeah, I really like that. I love the energy. I just never thought about it that way, I guess. You know, and I'm all about protecting your energy, right? Like I always say that,
Right.
but like
It's what
that
it
makes
is.
sense.
Like if your
It
energy is calm, if you've cultivated a peace or a presence in your life,
Yes.
but then something happens because it's life. Somebody makes you mad, somebody makes you sad, your energy has changed.
Right.
And you're
Right.
like, what the? Like, no, right?
Yeah.
And so what are you going to do to cope with that energy that you're experiencing and get back to your place? Because you're responsible for that. Whether I hit you and made you mad or not, you're responsible for changing how you feel.
Yes.
That may be setting a boundary with me. That may be ending our friendship. This is all faked. Like, don't do that to me. I'm
Right.
not hitting
Yeah.
you, and I don't want our friendship to end. But
We don't condone that.
I'm like talking like, what am I saying here?
Trisha's over here like, dun, dun, dun.
Side eye,
She's like, you do that
Side
once, Ma. We're
eye.
done. We're done.
This
That's
is what
funny.
this is what you do. You're on our podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
It just hit me in my arm, hypothetically. How could you?
Oh wow. So
Right? So,
I
like,
just want to take a
taking that.
moment to like just think about that, to you know that it is energy, and that's literally what our bodies are, though. Like,
Yes.
they're electrical.
Yes.
And they move, and so that
Yes.
is like, yeah. So I just want to say, yeah, thank you for sharing that, because
Yeah.
I feel like people need to also get that message too as well, because
Yeah.
it's hard, especially if you don't grow up in a household that, you know, is taught to talk about those things, or, you know, given the tools in their little toolbox.
Yes.
I feel like teaching children how to self-soothe is so important.
Yes.
So important, because
Yep.
I definitely lacked it, but like now when I see it like in, you know, other children, you know, I'm a big auntie, so I got like a whole bunch of nieces, whole bunch of nephews and stuff like that. So I do with like my younger ones. I'm like, okay, we're having a meltdown, but that's okay. Like, what's
Yes.
going on? Do you
Yeah.
want to talk about it, or what do you need? Do you just want to grab some ice cream right now, and then we'll figure out, you know, how to tackle this like in a second?
But that's exactly it. Like, you're just teaching that generation of saying, I'm noticing what you're feeling.
Right.
So can you notice that? And then what do you need?
What do you need?
And
What do you need?
Tell me.
Just tell me what you need. I'll give it to you.
yeah, self-care can be ice cream. Yes.
I mean,
It
kids
is
love
that.
ice cream,
Yeah.
so that's my go-to. I'm like, you want ice cream?
Like, yes.
Auntie, I'll get you some ice cream.
But do you notice that, just that, like, when other people aren't, you know, caring for themselves, and that energy that you feel with them, and like just that sort of like, right? So if we all just take that personal responsibility and help care for ourselves, like, how then we don't impact people in that negative way. So it's like self-care is healthcare. It's like, if I take care of myself, I'm holding space for you, just like that little kid example of like, I'm cool if you have a tantrum right now, go ahead.
Yeah.
And we're helping them because they're children. But like as adults, we don't hold as much compassion or space for that. But one thing you can just sort of recognize is like, I'm responsible for my feelings, and I'm going to do what I need to do to be okay with this. And like, you know, just encouraging that other person, like, what do you need to do to be okay with how you're feeling right now? And giving ourselves permission to do that.
I love that. You had mentioned right before we started the podcast episode, there was an acronym. It was HEAL.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you
what's
talk
up?
a little
Yeah,
more
what's
about
up?
that?
Yes. Okay. So this is something that I love to do in part of the healing journey, and that's why it's called HEAL. And it stands for H, have an experience. E, enrich it. A, my favorite, absorb it. And then L, link it to a negative.
Okay.
And so you can use this as a form of self-care, because what it's doing, again, is like, we need to install positive beliefs and experiences for ourselves.
Yes.
When Monica was talking about coming from a lot of traumatic or hard experiences, and she's recognizing all the growth and the beauty about what she's experienced or who she's become, we have to heal. This is how we can dissolve the trauma energy that's held in our body, is by using this acronym. So let me show you an example. Okay. Oh, let's use this. I'm having an experience right now about being on a podcast, right?
Okay.
I'm on a podcast. Isn't
Right.
this cool? Like, it shows that I know what I'm doing, or that I've been recognized as somebody who's good in my field, et cetera, et cetera. So you just recognize that you're having some experience that's a growth for you about where you've been.
Right.
The E is to enrich it. I'm like, okay, these women are beautiful. So I'm here with them.
Thank you.
This room is
Thank
awesome.
you.
This
No.
girl is cool. This tech girl over here who's running this whole show.
Shout out to Bethany.
Yeah, seriously. Right? I'm in Winnebago. Like, this is so cool. Like, Monica, we pulled up and she's like, what do you think of this place? And she's like, look around. And I'm like, yeah, look around.
Uh-huh.
And that's that absorb. I'm not only having an experience and I'm enriching it about how great it is, I'm absorbing it, feeling it in my body. Because remember, everything is energy. I got tingles. Like, I'm feeling good. Like, I'm feeling this is sacred. This is beautiful. This is healing. And I'm getting tingles in my body because I'm absorbing it.
I get that.
And then L, link it to a negative. Think about a time in my life where I felt not good enough, not worthy, wasn't special, wasn't seen in my field, wasn't an expert. And I can tell that little girl, or that I'm like seeing this version of me, like stressed to the max, working my 9-to-5 shitty job.
Yeah,
and being
right?
like, you made it. You make it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And what it's
Okay.
doing is it's healing that energy. It's adding that to that old memory. It's linking it in the brain, and absorbing and changing the stress, not worthy, not good enough, into an evolved version of, you made it, it's all good, we get there.
Love that.
Yeah, that makes
That is
sense.
so cool. Like, I got tingles right
Yeah,
now.
right?
Because I'm like,
yes,
yes.
the tingles. We
Like,
did
I
the
can
tingles.
do that.
Yes.
Because, like, when you first started talking about it and you were like, link it to a negative, I was
You're
like,
like, hold up.
I was like, link it to a negative. Why? Like, this was sounding so good. I thought we were healing. Why are we going back to the negatives? But now I get it, because it's like, okay, in those moments where I had felt less than, in this moment,
Yes.
I don't feel less than. This
Right.
is my win.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Link.
knocking out a loss.
Yeah,
and
that's
we're
what I was just
replacing
gonna
it
say.
with a
Like,
win.
the losses and the,
Yeah.
like, let's talk about losses and, like, self-care.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
man, those losses suck. When
They
you experience
suck.
them, it's
Yeah.
hard to even think about self-care.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, is there anything that you have on, like, losses and, like, maybe just starting off of that topic of,
Sure.
like, taking an L.
Taking an L. Yeah, taking an L. Yeah, I'm thinking about moments where, like, I did not feel good. What did I do? And that's that thing of, like, you have to feel the emotion. We cannot escape that. There's nothing wrong with feeling defeated. We don't like it. It's uncomfortable. I
Yeah.
would prefer to feel different. But the
Right.
minute you try to avoid, deny an emotion, you are just storing it in your energy body to only have to deal with later. So I allow myself to cry. And I throw my own little personal pity party just to allow myself to experience the emotion of what I'm feeling so that I don't have to carry it further. So it's almost like self-care could just be crying. Self-care could just be like getting real with yourself and saying, I feel like crap. I messed up. And it feels so uncomfortable. Like, I'm talking about it now. Like, I got that. I do that. I cry. No problem. But the reality is, I want to crawl out of my skin when I'm feeling those emotions.
Right.
But what I've done is, like, it's the human journey. You are just experiencing an emotion from an event. It will pass. We hold on to it. So if you feel it, it moves a little bit quicker. If you don't avoid it, it will leave sooner. Right?
Yeah,
So
I like that.
I would love to hear, like, what you guys do with losses, but here's my thing is, like, they're all a part of that life. And that's why that healing acronym is, like, it doesn't have to be so bad when you start to weave it together.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, okay, so losses. How do I do losses? I do cry because I think crying is a very good outlet. However, too, I just want to note too that on a male perspective, I feel like there's this this barrier of, like, you can't experience those L's and cry about it because we have to be masculine about it. We have to be men about it. And so I want to circle back to that and have that conversation. But
please.
when I do experience a loss, I do cry. But I also take the time to think about, okay, so what wasn't successful with this? And how can I learn from it? How can I grow from it? And, you know, it may take me a couple of times more to experience some of the same things, especially when it comes to like relationships. And man, yeah, I took a lot of L's in that category, but
same girl, same.
But it's just a process of learning and growing and having that grace and forgiveness with yourself, because it's like, once you're able to say, okay, like you already experienced the pain and the trauma from it, it's okay to let it go now, because if you don't, it's going to sit there inside your body. It's literally physiologically going to harm yourself, because you are going to stress yourself over it. You have to let it go. Yes. And it's for yourself, you know. And sometimes too, like in regards to relationships, you may not get that closure. You may not get the goodbye. You may not get the last conversation, and you have to learn how to cope with that and deal with it and you know, move forward. And it's hard. It's really hard to get over, you know, a relationship. But as far as like, you know, treading in uncharted territory, which is like, you know, like small businesses, we had that conversation. Like, that's very foreign to me, but it's also something new, and I want to dive into that. So I'm already knowing that there is going to be a lot of losses that I'm going to have to grow and you know, even on a personal level, you know, just like healing and things like that. So, yeah, so that's just kind of what my take is on losses. Monica, is there anything that you have on losses, or like how you've transformed, or how do you deal with those? And
so I guess like my answer is kind of similar to y'all's. So I always allow myself like 24 hours, just one day. I allow myself one day to just feel bad for myself, and whatever that looks like in that moment, whether it's staying in bed all day and watching TikTok, or having mental breakdowns where I'm ugly crying, whatever it is that I feel that I need in those first 24 hours, I give myself that. After the 24 hours, that's where I'm like, okay, girl, it's time to pick yourself up. What are we going to do? And then once I get back into like, okay, this is my routine, and that life still goes on regardless of what has happened, once I can get myself back into the routine, that's when I make more space to actually sit and observe what happened. How did I get here? How did I allow this to happen? How could I prevent this type of hurt from happening again in the future? And, you know, and some stuff is not preventable. Because, like, when we kept on saying the word loss, I kept on thinking, you know, a loss, like losing someone. You know, that's not easy when you're losing them to, like, the spirit side versus, oh, I was in a relationship, it didn't work out, and now I can't talk to you anymore. Right. Different types of loss. So some stuff is just unavoidable. But in those situations where, especially like when it comes to relationships, whether they're platonic or romantic, but when it comes to like taking it ill in a situation with another person, I really like to make time to sit back and learn from it, because 9 times out of 10, I'm feeling this pain that I'm feeling because I had a lack of boundaries. Not so much because the person decided to do something that hurt me. Yeah, I can sit there and I can focus on that, but more than that, I'd rather be accountable for myself, because at the end of the day, whatever happened in one way or another, I allowed it to happen. But, you know, that's just me because I got a lack of boundaries. We've talked about my lack of boundaries a lot on this show. I am not I'm not going to. You know that meme that's like when I'm giving my friend, like, advice, but I'm like, what does it say?
Like your life is a hot mess.
But, like, no, it's like, it says something like I'll give my friends advice, but at the end, I'm like, you know, but that's just me, or...
Right.
Yeah. Or, you know, do what you have to do. Yeah, the disclaimer thing, because, like, you know, this relates to me, but, you know, I don't want you to do something off the rails and then come back and be like, well, Monica said. No, Monica said that worked for me. That worked for Monica.
So I do want to circle back, and I don't know if you've had any experiences with like men and self-care or like the losses. And so what I had mentioned prior was that men have this barrier, or like they have to put on this front of being masculine and they can't cry.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to talk about like on that specific subject?
Sure. Yeah. I actually have a handful of men on my caseload. Mm-hmm. And I love that for them, because I do feel like therapy can be a safe place for men to talk about their feelings, because it's almost like men to men, it's not safe. There's sort of that collective thing of like, I'm tough, I'm cool, like you don't have to see me sweat, and wanting to appear that way.
Yeah.
And I think we as women hold space for our men to be emotional and to talk about things, and it might to some degree be safe within that, but there's still that cultural role that they're trying to fill, being the protector, the provider, like I'm strong, you're safe with me. So it's not safe for them to sort of talk about their feelings and be vulnerable or weak. So first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with a man going to therapy. I truly love working with men in therapy. Like they're the best. Yes. They really, really are. And I think that they're designed a little different as their way of moving through emotions. I find that their self-care looks different. They're a little bit more like, I think the goal with them is to acknowledge that they feel a certain way, and doing that, it almost moves. It moves a little bit quicker and easier than women. They don't get as stuck in that emotion. Mm-hmm. And I find that like it's the avoidance of that builds up in them, that they become unhealthy. So they're kind of like, I talk about it. What can I do about it? If I can do something, let's do it. And if I can't, it's an L. What am I going to do about it? Let's go do something. Let's work. Let's move forward. Yeah. They're very much about moving forward. Again, it's the lack of acknowledging it. So I think it's just about creating safe spaces for them to talk about how they feel.
Is there ever like a men's group? Is that something that would like...
Kind of.
Yeah.
So at Evolve Yoga, there is it's called Old Fat Guys. And it's a yoga class funny. Because it's like you can be old and fat and still come do this. And I think it's beyond yoga. I think the concept with them is that like we are men, and because when you're doing yoga, you're moving your bodies, you're opening up different centers and emotions. And if you're old and fat, you might feel a little embarrassed. So like that's okay. It's like the emotions are there, and it's a safe place for men to do that. In terms of groups, nothing is coming to mind right now for that. I think that creating relationships and friendships with other men that support you having emotions and being vulnerable and talking about those things, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I feel like our area is kind of behind when it comes to men's mental health, because like even when I do my events, like my events are not gender biased, they're open, to anyone and everyone, but I don't have a lot of engagement from men. And I don't know if it's just like this is the Midwest and this is how we just do stuff up here, because when I was like in the South, there was always like men's enrichment events just as much as there was for women. And then there was
that doesn't surprise me though. I don't know why,
because the South is just so far advanced.
We're definitely behind.
We are behind.
I think there is a group. It's called like Mankind. There is a group. There's also like, I think we're behind, but
I think we're just not there yet. But I feel like there's a lot of people that want to help get us there. But it's just finding like those collaborative efforts. Because I've always wanted like a men's empowerment type of event, kind of like how we do the women's empowerment events. And even when I did my last event with the Sunset Picnic, like I was reaching out to male speakers and I was trying to find male vendors, and I couldn't find anyone whose products or story fed into I'm empowering other men.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Have you guys ever heard of the soul loss concept from shamanic cultures?
Soul loss.
No.
I don't think so.
So it's actually surrounding men. Like one of my favorite podcasts is called The Last Mass Center. It's by Christina Pratt, who wrote the book on shamanism, where she studied all indigenous cultures and their different practices. And the concept is soul loss, and it's a story about a son and a father who go out and they go hunting, and the son accidentally shoots his dad with an arrow. And so when they come back, the father is taken to like the medicine man who heals him of his physical wound, and the son goes see the shaman, and then they kind of switch roles. And they talk about like when you experience some trauma, whether that's physical, mental, or emotional, your soul sort of like hops out. It doesn't want to be in the physical body when it's experiencing that pain, but it's held within that larger energetic body. So after the physical pain has been taken care of, we want to make sure that that father's soul stays within his body, and he knows that he's safe and well and it's okay. And same for the son who's like, oh no, I hurt my dad. He's okay. Let's bring that soul back into the body. And I find that with men, it's like as soon as we just talk about it and we're just like, it happened, but you're okay, move on, they're kind of like back in their bodies.
Dang, I wish I could be like that.
I know. I know. I was like, I need to cry for 2 days. Okay.
Yeah, like I need one more crying session, and then I can.
Right. Right. And I think it's just how we're designed. But again, it's like that acknowledgement of like, it's okay to go see the shaman. It's okay to go to a therapist. It's okay to just make sure you're back on board with all that. I believe you that you're tough and ready to go, but don't not acknowledge that something happened and that there was some, soul sort of damage within that.
Right. Self-accountability. Self-care looks like self-accountability.
Man.
Self-care looks like so much stuff. I love self-care.
Yeah.
This morning I did my skincare, and I was like, oh, girl, we talking about self-care today.
Yes.
Let me make my skin nice and smooth.
There was actually something I wanted to say to what you said, which I think is a good point. Can I circle back to it?
Yes.
You were talking about how like you'll kind of like snap yourself out of it. One of the tools I use for self-care too is a construction worker.
Construction worker. Okay.
Yeah,
so Bob the
Builder,
Builder
little drawings. Yeah.
I have a cute one, like a lot cuter than Bob the Builder. I have him in some like fashionable construction clothes.
I like that.
Because I have to use this thing a lot. But when you're like driving down a road and there's construction, there's a worker there and it has you stop because the other lane of traffic gets to come through.
Yes.
And you have to wait. You can't go. You have to stop.
Yeah.
That is like an energy that we need to embody for self-care.
I like that.
Like when you like keep thinking about that loss, when you keep thinking about that guy or that relationship or why this happened or what you could have done, and like you're now kind of creating that continual suffering. You're still being sad about something that you allowed yourself to feel sad about, but you're still there. There's a part of us women that like has to stop. Like that's that difference between men. They're like, I'm over it, I'm gone. And we're like, but still sad.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I'm still
to
sad.
some degree, it's like, yes, feel your emotions, but when do you find yourself thinking about the past or thinking about something that's painful and creating some of that suffering? We need to stop. You can't go down that road. You can't keep thinking about it. You have to pause and wait and then take a new path, a new road.
Let me text one of my exes real quick. I'm done. I'm done thinking about it. I'm letting you go now.
I'm taking a new road.
I'm taking a new route. The construction worker said you can stop.
That's funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is a really interesting analogy. Yeah. And also too, with the men just like being able to move on. I feel like women in general, like we always stick around. Like that's just even like I feel like in scary movies, like like we're like, what is that? Or like maybe we hurt our villain or whatever, but we like always like to stick around because we want to see what happens. And I think that's just us as women. We do that, and yeah, you're right. We do have to stop doing that. So
yeah, we tend to hold on too long.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So it was. I don't know. It just came to me. So. Last night, I had someone reach out to me about one of our past episodes on addiction and recovery. And so they were asking because their partner is actively in addiction. She was asking for advice, and she was like, what do I say? What do I don't say? And whatnot. And I had circled back to the episode, and I was like, it's not about what you can say, what you shouldn't say, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. it's about taking care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself.
That's that self-care.
So, yeah, it's the self-care. You have to. And, you know, I had that like recorded piece that I had put on social media because I was like,
I saw
ultimately, you cannot help. You can't do anything besides take care of yourself. And so, I don't know. It just made me like circle back. It just, and so I was like, Trisha was like, yeah, go ahead. I was like, I was all excited. Wasn't even that major. But yeah.
But it is major.
It is.
It is major.
So like in anything that you go through or anything that like your loved ones might be going through, like it's okay to want to help. It's okay to be there and to hold their hand through it. But you just can't forget to take care of yourself. Not only when you're going through stuff, but when the people around you are going through stuff. Because kind of like you were saying earlier, you can feel that energy.
Yes.
When someone is going through something, the energy can get so dense.
Yes.
Girl.
I can't stand that
What was it, that
feeling.
one episode where everything had like crashed in your world, right? So just like figuratively and like,
Where I
literally.
looked all sad.
Yeah,
I
like
know.
you could literally
You could
feel that.
see
Like I was
it.
like spraying Florida water everywhere.
I know.
Like, you know, trying to, you know.
Yes.
But yeah, no, you can definitely feel that. And
Yeah. And it's crazy because I had thought about that episode earlier when we were talking. I was like, man, I remember like, was it like end of March, early April? I think it was end of March. I think we even cut our first season shorter than what we had originally intended because like
it was
like
a lot.
I felt like my entire universe had fell apart. You were going through like new situations that were hard to manage, and it was just like we were just like, okay, we need a break.
Yes.
And not because the show was
I'm
too
glad we
hard
did
or
that.
too much. I'm
really
glad
am.
because season 2 has been amazing.
Yes.
From start up until what's next week is our last episode.
Yeah, it's
of
our last
season 2.
episode
I
next
know,
week.
and it's a good episode.
episode.
But yeah, it's like I had went back because I go back occasionally and I'll rewatch the live videos from the Big Voice Facebook page. And I want to say it was probably like a week before we came back for season 2. I went through all of our season 1 episodes and rewatched them. And I kid you not, when I watched the last 2 episodes that we did, I just felt so sad for myself because I was like, I can see it, love. Like, I can see it on you. I can see you fighting back tears. And the conversations that we were having weren't even difficult conversations, but I just looked so defeated. Yeah. And then I'm like, and look at me now.
Right, and look at me now.
Look at me now, living, growing, glowing.
Use that HEAL acronym right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was my
love
link.
it.
Yes.
So
but that
do we-
addiction piece is so true that like, whew, I don't know if we want to go there if we have time, but
Let's see.
it
We
might
don't.
be a thing
We got
for
5
another
more
day.
minutes. So.
I think that that's actually a serious form of self-care is to check when you are doing things to make it okay in your external environment, like other people are okay and then I'm okay. That's actually a male adaptive coping mechanism, right? It's actually like, I'm okay and I need to make sure I'm okay, and then what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
Instead of what can I do, what should I say, what should I not say, what should I do so that this gets better because then I'll feel better.
Oh, so yes, I have to talk about this. So
Go ahead,
Can you
girl,
invite
go
me back
ahead.
for episode 2?
Yeah, we should definitely. Self-care part 2.
Yes.
But
keep
yes,
going.
what you just said was self-care. So like the self-care is not selfish. It is not selfish. And I feel like people pleasing is the biggest thing that last year I went through. Like I was making sure everybody else was okay. I wasn't putting myself first. And to the point, like even in my like personal relationships and things like that, it is okay to say no to people. It is okay. Like that is not for you to carry. And if they are upset with you, that is for them to carry, and they need to figure that out. Because at the end of the day, you know yourself, you know what your capacity is, and that is a form of self-care. Put yourself first. It is okay to put yourself first. I feel like, especially like in indigenous communities, like that is what we're supposed to do. We're like supposed to care for everybody else, and that's good. But also, like you have to make sure that you are okay first. And I think that's a big piece of the healing justice workshops that we did, was that you can't heal anybody if you yourself are not healed. Another form of self-care is shadow work. That is a big thing. If you don't know what shadow work is, I highly encourage you to research it and even start the journey. Maybe that'll be a whole nother episode topic too as well. So
absolutely.
But that's all I wanted to kind of wrap up with. But do you have any conclusions, wrapping it up as far as like self-care?
No, I think you said it well there. It's like self-care is not selfish, and it is really looking at what it is that you need to heal before you start helping and caring others. It's that silly saying that they say on like airplanes, like put your life mask on first before you do someone else. Like, it's true. When we are okay and in a grounded place, then we can help others, and that's a really beautiful thing.
Yep.
Save yourself.
Monica?
So one thing that I thought of as you were speaking, Trisha, was I think it was like the same time where those like hard episodes came in for me, and the episodes were fine. I just was going through so much. So when I start to go through a lot of things, one of the first people that I reach out to is Molly. So Molly is able to provide me guidance from a mental health therapist level, but then she's able to provide guidance from an astrology point of view.
I know, we didn't even bring spirit in. Like, we need a 2-part episode to this because
Yeah. I
healing
think so, too.
is so big. We didn't even cover the bases.
We didn't.
Yeah.
But so one thing that had stuck out to me was that during one of those times where it was just tough for me, Molly was like, well, I think I started it off by being like, like I keep pouring from my cup, but nobody's pouring into me. And she was like, well, you don't have one cup. She's like, you have like 12 cups. And each cup is a different need that you need. And if nobody's filling into those cups, but you're constantly filling out of them, then yes, all of your cups are going to be empty at some point, and you're going to feel exhausted and like defeated and whatnot. And so I don't know. When you were talking, that's what I thought of, was like the 12 cups, because I tell everybody that now. I'm like, you don't have just one cup.
Right.
It's not just you pour from a cup and someone pours back into it. You have all these different cups that cater to different areas of life. So yeah.
I love that. Yes. So I want to say thank you, Molly, for coming on to the podcast today. And hopefully we will have more podcast episodes where we talk more about healing, maybe the shadow work aspect of things. I love the astrology, so we'll definitely have to see if that's on the next season or not. So as always, you can listen to our podcast on Spotify, YouTube. There is TuneIn. We have Google and Apple Podcasts. You can also access all of the episodes on Winnebago The Big Voice's YouTube channel too as well. And I think next week is it the land back, or being a land back native? So we wanted to kind of center that around the 4th of July, like, all these holidays that just don't fit into our, indigenous identities. So so with that, thank you for watching, and we will see you next week. We will also, next week is our last episode.
Next week is our last episode of season 2. Yes. So. Also, you can get in contact with Molly.
It's the website is hearttherapy.info. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook as The Heart Therapist. I do individual readings for astrology, and I'm not taking on new clients right now, but I have some others in my office who are. So if you are interested in mental health work, priority to those men, you can come.
Yes. And then Moon Wellness does have a paint and sip this Saturday. It's a sneakerhead one, so I'm super excited about that.
Oh, cool.
I should probably post it. It's just on my website. But yeah. And then we have our powwow coming up, so we can't forget about that. So we hope to see you guys out there, but we have one more episode before then, so we'll touch base again next week.
Cool. We'll see you next week. Thank you for watching.
Bye.